All right, so you know how we always hear we only use like 10% of our brains?
Right.
What if someone like actually lived with just 10%?
Mm-hmm.
Not sci-fi, but like a real medical mystery.
Yeah.
We got this article someone sent in about
Yeah.
the man with 10% of a brain. And wow, it's got me hooked.
That's a case that really kind of challenges how we think about neuroscience, for sure.
So it talks about this 44-year-old French guy goes to the doctor for like leg weakness, pretty normal.
Yeah.
But they do an MRI and they find out that 90% of his brain is missing,
Oh, wow.
replaced by fluid.
Wow.
And get this, he's living a totally normal life.
Right.
Job, family, the whole 9 yards. How's that even possible?
It's pretty remarkable. The article mentions that he has a history of hydrocephalus,
Okay.
which is a condition that causes fluid buildup in the brain.
Right.
It sounds like he had a shunt to drain the fluid when he was a child, but it was removed at some point.
Okay, so over time, the fluid like came back and basically compressed his brain.
Right.
But wouldn't that be like devastating? I mean, how could he function with just a sliver of brain tissue?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. You've done some research on neuroplasticity, haven't you?
Yeah, a bit. It's like how the brain can like reorganize itself after an injury or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now imagine this happening over decades.
Okay.
So his brain didn't lose 90% overnight.
Right.
It was a gradual process. And this likely allowed his remaining brain tissue to slowly take over those essential functions. Almost like an office team, where the remaining employees just figure out how to cover the workload when others are gone.
I see what you mean. But even with all that adaptability, isn't there a limit to what the brain can compensate for?
That's a key question that this case raises. Did his brain truly relearn functions in their entirety? Or did it develop entirely different mechanisms that just appear similar? And could the specific areas of his brain that remained intact be the key to his relatively normal functioning? It really challenges our assumptions about what's essential for consciousness and cognition.
And this all circles back to the idea that like bigger doesn't necessarily mean better when it comes to brains.
Exactly. It seems like efficiency and organization might be more critical.
Okay.
It's like comparing a well-organized storage unit to one that's just crammed full of stuff.
Right.
You can find what you need in both, but one is clearly more streamlined.
So this guy's brain may have kept only the most essential pathways and ditched the rest, maximizing the use of its limited resources.
Yeah, it's possible.
This really makes you wonder about like the potential we all have, just locked away in our brains. If this guy could live a normal life with just 10% of his brain,
Right.
it kind of begs the question, like, what are we capable of with a full 100%?
It's tantalizing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
This case really opens up a whole new world of questions about how we understand, intelligence and learning. Like,
Right.
for example, if some parts of the brain are essentially optional, could we train ourselves to be more efficient, like this man's brain seems to be?
You mean, like, could we actually unlock new levels of cognitive ability?
It's a possibility worth exploring. Think about your work on AI.
Okay.
We're constantly striving to create more efficient algorithms, right?
Right.
Perhaps there are parallels in how we can optimize our own biological algorithms in the brain.
That's a cool way to think about it, but this case also has, like, huge implications for treating brain injuries, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If we can understand how this man's brain adapted so successfully, could we apply that knowledge to help stroke victims or people with brain damage regain lost function? It could revolutionize rehabilitation.
Okay, that's seriously hopeful.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I'm still struggling to wrap my head around how this guy didn't experience any, like, major cognitive deficits.
Right.
The article mentions he had a slightly lower IQ than average, but otherwise he was fine. Doesn't that seem strange?
It does challenge our preconceived notions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For years, scientists believed that large-scale brain loss inevitably meant severe disability. This case demonstrates that the brain is far more resilient and adaptable than we ever imagined.
It's almost like the brain has, like, backup systems we never even knew about.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it highlights how much we still have to learn about this incredibly complex organ. We've barely scratched the surface of understanding its true potential.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden, within the folds of our brains just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is this isn't some unique anomaly,
Right.
There are other documented cases of individuals living with surprisingly reduced brain volume. It suggests that there may be a spectrum of adaptive capability.
Okay.
And This man's case sits at an extreme but not entirely unique point on that spectrum.
So this bigger is better idea when it comes to brains, is that completely out the window now?
Well, I wouldn't say completely,
Okay.
but it definitely warrants reevaluation.
Yeah.
This case and others like it suggest that maybe it's not about the raw size of the brain,
Okay.
but rather how efficiently it's organized and how effectively it uses its resources.
So quality over quantity when it comes to brain power.
You could say that it's like comparing a small, finely tuned sports car to a hulking truck.
Okay.
Both can get you where you need to go, but they do it in very different ways.
All right, I'm starting to see the light here. So what are some of the biggest takeaways we should remember from this case?
Well, first and foremost, the sheer adaptability of the human brain.
Okay.
No matter what challenges you face, your brain is constantly working to find solutions and keep you functioning.
It's like a master problem solver, always coming up with workarounds.
Exactly. And secondly, it reminds us that there's still so much we don't know about the brain.
Right.
Cases like this challenge our existing knowledge and push us to delve deeper into the mysteries of neuroscience.
It's humbling, isn't it?
Yeah,
We think we have it all figured out, and then a case like this comes along and turns everything upside down.
it's a good reminder that science is constantly evolving, constantly revealing new wonders. And finally, this case really emphasizes that it's not just about how much brain power you have, but how you use it. Efficiency and adaptability are key.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to go do some brain training exercises after this.
Me too.
Haha.
It really makes you appreciate the incredible potential that lies within each of us.
So to recap, we've learned that the brain is a master adapter, that we still have a ton to learn about this mysterious organ,
Right.
and that efficiency trumps size when it comes to brain power. Anything else we should keep in mind?
I think the most important takeaway is to remember that this isn't just some abstract scientific concept.
Right.
This was a real person living a real life with all its complexities, despite having only a fraction of the brain tissue most of us have.
It speaks volumes about the resilience of the human spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, we can adapt, thrive, and live meaningful lives.
It's truly remarkable. And if this man could achieve so much with a fraction of his brain, just imagine what you with your full 100% are capable of.
That's a powerful thought, but I have to wonder, are there limits to this adaptability?
Hmm.
Does this case represent an extreme outlier, or could others achieve similar levels of adaptation under the right circumstances?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are actively investigating.
Okay.
While we don't have all the answers, it's clear that the brain possesses a remarkable capacity for rewiring and reorganization.
This whole deep dive has got me thinking, like, if this guy's brain can adapt to such a crazy degree, are there things we can do to, like, enhance our own brain power?
Mhm.
You mentioned training before. Is that something we can actively, like, pursue?
It's a question that's fascinated scientists and I guess just regular people for centuries.
Right.
And while there's no magic pill for instant genius,
Uh-huh.
there are definitely things we can do to support brain health and maybe boost our cognitive function.
Okay. I'm all ears. Spill the secrets.
Well, it starts with the fundamentals.
Oh.
Things like getting enough sleep,
Right.
nourishing your body with a balanced diet,
Yeah.
and engaging in regular physical activity. These might seem basic,
Yeah.
but they're crucial for maintaining a healthy brain.
So all the things my doctor keeps nagging me about.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not rocket science, but it lays the foundation for optimal brain function.
Mhm.
And beyond these foundational habits, there are specific activities that can challenge your brain and encourage neuroplasticity, that rewiring we've been
Those
discussing.
brain training apps. I've seen ads for those everywhere.
Those can be a fun way to challenge your memory and processing speed.
Right.
But I'm talking about activities that engage your brain on a much deeper level,
Oh.
learning a new language, for example,
Right.
or picking up a musical instrument.
Mm.
These require you to form new neural pathways and connections.
So anything that pushes me out of my comfort zone and forces my brain to work in new ways?
Precisely think about this man's brain.
Mm.
It was forced to adapt and find new ways to function. And we can apply that same principle to our own lives, even without those extreme circumstances.
Okay.
Challenge yourself with complex problem solving.
Hmm.
Engage in strategic games, explore creative pursuits, anything that keeps your brain actively learning and adapting.
It's like a workout for the brain, use it or lose it, right?
That's a great analogy. And just like with physical exercise, the more you challenge your brain, the stronger, more resilient it becomes.
This is really encouraging, but, we've been focusing on the positive aspects of this man's case. Are there any downsides or potential risks associated with this level of brain adaptation?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While this man's case highlights the incredible resilience of the brain, it's important to remember that he did experience some challenges.
Yeah.
The article mentions a slightly lower IQ
Right.
and potential difficulties with certain cognitive tasks.
Okay.
This suggests that while the brain is incredibly adaptable, there may be limits to what it can fully compensate for.
So even with remarkable rewiring, there might be trade-offs.
It's possible, and it underscores the importance of protecting our brains from injury and disease, while neuroplasticity offers hope for recovery.
Right.
It's not a guarantee.
Okay, that's a sobering thought. As we wrap up this deep dive, is there a final takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important message is this man's story is a testament to the incredible potential that lies within each of us, while we may never face such extreme circumstances. His experience reminds us that our brains are constantly adapting, evolving, and finding ways to overcome challenges. Embrace that adaptability, nurture your brain, and never underestimate the power of your own mind.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into the depths of the human brain.
My pleasure.
And to all of you listening, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have. Keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you next time for another mind-expanding exploration.